Hello, I hope you like my mood lighting. It is a really grey and rainy day outside, which is perfect for lockdown. For once, it's like the first day in lockdown that it's actually shit weather, so I don't feel bad about not leaving the house. Have my coffee. It's 6:30 and I am actually in the middle of trying to write something and I'm getting stuck and frustrated. I'm like really struggling with this article. So I'm going to procrastinate and make a video instead on a different topic because that's what I do best as a quad ride. And speaking of being a quad ride, I guess I just want to reflect more on rightness because I do. Because I think it's a topic that people are really interested in, that I'm really interested in, that is probably finally starting to get like more exposure at how different rightness and leftness is. But yeah, it's just like the more I learn about rightness and being a quad right that's all receptive, the more I am like literally in awe of what that means. Because we still live in a seven-centered, strategic, left-orientated world. And we don't have a model of there's literally nothing in this world. We don't have a model of rightness and what it means to live in receptivity and literally existential awareness. If we didn't have to be, as someone who's all right, who's quad right, I'm still not like a rave. And so I still have to adapt to the strategic world somehow. But if I didn't have to adapt, if I could just live in continuous existential awareness, that's the dream. It's like someone could take care, and that's what's going to happen with these Rave children. It's like they're literally going to need to be taken care of because they're going to be completely in their existential awareness until they come into a conscious penta, a strategic penta. But being all right, I human design, this system, make this closer, this system is designed for people who are quad rights, who are all right. We are sponges. We are literally sponges. Sponges to information. Sponges to frequency. Sponges to everything. We're just in a continuous we're in this bubble. It almost sounds like I'm describing an aura, but we're just taking in everything from a 360. I love my hand motions. But we are taking in so much information that we don't even know. We can't possibly know how much information we're taking in. This system is literally designed for us because quad rights are literally designed to be the storehouses, the libraries of information. Ra always, he did joke. He's predicting. I don't know whether it's true. I have my doubts as a 63rd gate. That there will come a time in the future where the internet is going to go out. And what's going to happen when the internet goes out? Who's going to have all the information? Who's going to be the storehouses of all the information? It's the people who are right. It's anyone with a receptive mind. but particularly it's those that are all right. We take in more information than anybody else, and that's just a fact. It's just a fact. Yes, if you're strategic, you remember the details, you focus in on the details, but you will never remember everything, and you will never have that sort of like 360 periphery absorption of information and knowledge. And like, every time I listen to the variable lecture for quad rights that Ra did, when he like did the 16 different variable lectures, it gets me emotional. It literally gets me so emotional. And he has this line where it's like we literally just breathe in, we gasp, that's like how we take in. It's almost like we just breathe in information. Like, I have inner vision, and so like when I'm reading, and I've always like known this about myself, I'm like a speed reader. I read so fast. Like my sister, I'd read like a book in a day, and she'd be reading a book over like several months. And it's like, and I've talked about this with someone else who has inner vision. It's like I'm reading a book, or I'm reading lectures, I'm reading something, and I'm not even focusing on any of the specific words. Almost like I'm just looking at the page, not like focusing on anything, and it's just like absorbing right in. Like, it just absorbs. It's literally just like breathing in like that, and like in it goes. And you know, the worst thing we can do, anyone who's receptive, the worst thing you can do is try to think and try to remember, like try to force yourself to remember something. Like, I will drive myself in circles trying to remember something. And like, I mean, yeah, occasionally like with human design, I'll be like, fuck, like what's that thing again? Like I can't remember that thing. But if someone were to ask me something, a question, and pull it out of me, it's there. I don't know what's there, but it will be pulled out of me. But I can't go in and look for it myself. And something to understand about the difference between leftness and rightness, and what it meant to be a strategic being versus being someone who's receptive, is that strategic, well, first of all, strategic is all about the splenic, I don't know, the splenic binary. The splenic binary is rooted in fear, and it's rooted in survival. And fear, I mean, in human design, like fear isn't a bad thing. Fear is actually what leads to intelligence. This is what it means to be strategic. And like the epitome of being strategic is when we get the splenic binary into the ajna binary and into the third tone. And the third tone being action. The third tone being action and external vision. And like mind is literally the epitome of what it means to be human. And by human, I mean a seven-centered strategic being. It's vision. It's like vision that's changed everything for us. That's what else I was going to say. So it's all about, to me, the ajna is the epitome of what it means to be human, of what it means to be strategic. Strategy is all rooted in the ajna. It's rooted in mind. That's where strategy literally is. It's where we conceptualize. It's what our history has been. If you're receptive, if you're right, the focus is not on the ajna, but the focus is on the head center. And the difference between the ajna and the head center, the ajna is your conceptualizing, is the place of conceptualization. Your head center is simply just storage. It's storage without purpose. It's storage without reason. It's storage without an agenda. It literally just takes in. It's not conceptualizing, it's not categorizing, strategizing. It's like, it's not doing any of those things. Literally just a storage house of information. I just picture like a huge library. That's what it is. I was dipping into the 2027 semester yesterday, as you do, and it talks about the Rave, and it's talking about, you know, this difference between ajna and the head center, and we can't even fathom what it would be like to not have an ajna center but to have a head center, because whenever we talk about the ajna, we talk about it in relation to the head center. You could have an ajna center and not have a head center defined, if you know what I mean. So like in your design, you can't have the head defined without the ajna, because that's the only way, that's the only connection you have. It's not possible. But in the lectures he's talking about, can you like imagine to have the head center defined but to not have an ajna? Because that's what essentially it'll be like with the raves. That's kind of what essentially it is to me, to be like all right, is that okay, I don't have my head center defined, but I don't have any way of conceptualizing. I don't have anything in me that's strategic, having all receptors all right. And I guess maybe I'm trying to give an idea to someone who's strategic. That's kind of what it means to be right, to be receptive, is like there is no conceptualizing going on. Like Ra would joke the only way he could understand rightness was to take LSD and drive a car, because like you can't think or you'll crash. You can't think or you'll die. And I mean, that's what it is to be rightness. You're not really thinking, like you're just being. Like it's this quality of itness, and there's no purpose to it. Because leftness and the strategic world, there's a reason, they have a reason and a purpose for everything. There's a reason and a purpose for doing this. There is no reason or purpose for someone who's all right. I have no purpose. My purpose, in a sense, my purpose is literally for people to use me as a resource, to draw from me what they need. And it's not about what I do. It's about how aware I am, how present I am. It's just about this quality of being, of like itness. And something he also talks about in the variable lecture, excuse me, is that we need something to like get our awareness out. We need something to get our awareness out. It's like, I know, and like studying this system really intensely for the last 6 or 7 months now, you get to the point where it's like there's all this information. Like I know the information is there, I don't know what's there. I have no idea what's there, and I like, there's such a strong desire, like I want people to pull from me. Like that's what gives me joy, when someone pulls something from my library, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't know I knew that. Yeah, it's never about what I do. it's literally about just being. In a perfect world, all strategic, all receptive minds, are here to simply be the resource. We are here to be resources, and the strategic people can take advantage of our resources and pull out the resources they need. But we're not here to take advantage of the information we've stored. Essentially, like, as someone who is all right, like, God, the most aware beings on the planet, as how Rave described us, the most aware beings. Not everyone deserves access to you as the most aware being on the planet. And your life is literally determined by who is there, who is in front of you, who is drawing from your well. Because if you have mundane people drawing from your well, you're going to give the mundane. If you have geniuses drawing from your well, you're going to give genius. That's just how it works. Your life is literally determined by the other. Coming to design and like actually radically living my design, shit happens really, really fast for quad rides. Like, I think it's much easier for us to surrender because there's nothing for us to hold on to. There's no the only strategy I have at this point, my strategy is strategy and authority. You know, that's the strategic thing that liberates right beings from having to think about their lives. Because literally, like, life is painful as hell as someone who's receptive, as someone who's all right. Because I've been trying to strategically figure out my life and I'm not good at it. I mean, I can like get away with it and fit in just enough. But when you literally surrendering to my strategy and authority, like, everything else melts away. My mind, like, I don't think about my decisions that much anymore. I don't think about what I have to do next because my authority guides me to the next decision. My authority guides me to what's next. I don't have to think about it. So what happens, like, things happen really quickly for us because it's much, much easier to surrender because we are literally designed to surrender. All right people are designed to surrender to their, like, to being, to itness, to be in, like, existential receptivity and awareness. And that's what we have to offer the other. We have our awareness. We don't have strategy. We don't have a plan. We don't have an agenda. We don't have a reason, or we don't have a purpose. It's like, wow. Like, I mean, on top of being a projector, anyone who's all right, life comes to you. Life will come to you. The nerds, like, a friend of mine has literally described it as being on a conveyor belt. Being a quad rat is like being on a conveyor belt, and life just like keeps like bringing people and experiences and opportunities towards you. You don't have to look for it. You're just on the fucking conveyor belt, the life conveyor belt, and shit just keeps happening, and you're just there. You're literally just there, like, wow, cool, this is happening now. That's what it's like to live, like, to truly be in your rightness. And like the more I live my design, the more I am like I guess, yeah, the more that I release strategic conditioning, the stronger my abilities, well, like, the stronger my cognition gets as someone who's all right. I've stopped, like, if you're someone who's receptive, you don't need to take notes, you don't need to study, you don't need to memorize, you don't need to do any of that shit that the strategic world tells us to do. I've stopped taking notes on anything human design related around 6 months ago, and I think I remember more than I ever did in like the previous year and a half of study. Because this is what it's like as someone who's all right, who's studying human design. You take in the information, you take in the knowledge, the system, it becomes you. You become the living embodiment of the knowledge. Like, I hope that makes sense. I think people who are receptive will get that it's like, it's me. Like, human design is me. It's in my cells. Like, you come to me, you ask me something, it comes out of me. Like, we are the carriers. Like, we are the libraries. We are the people who are going to carry forward this knowledge. That's who we are. Like, and I joke about this a lot. I'm like, I am source material. But maybe I did hear it in Ra's variable lecture, and like somehow I started talking about that. Because when I re-listened to it the other day, he's like, you guys are the source. Like, we are the source. We are literally source. I don't mean that in a fucking spiritual, mystical sense. Like, we are the source material. And God, like, it's just, yeah, we haven't seen anything like it. We don't know what it means to be right. This world is still grappling with what it means to be right. We're still even when the world is like acknowledging, even when science is acknowledging there's like the right brain, that there's something emerging that's not simply strategic. They're still describing rightness in the context of strategy, of like, what's the advantage to being a creative person? What's the advantage to having to using your right side of the brain? It's not about that. It's not about the advantage. It's not about the value of that. Like, it just is. It just is. Okay. I could keep preaching forever on this, so I will stop. But yeah, more reflections on rightness, probably more to come because I just think about this all the time. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Bye.